Alright guys, so this is going to be a little bit of a review on my 2016 Camaro SS. I've had this car for 18 months. I bought it in May 2016. Had never had a sports car before. Before that I had a Subaru Outback, but I had 3 station wagons at that time and figured maybe I didn't need 3 station wagons. And I figured I wanted to learn how to race cars and convinced my wife to let me buy a car to learn how to race cars in. And I sort of narrowed it down to the Camaro and the Mustang just based on I didn't want to crash a $100,000 car. I figured maybe crashing a $40,000 car wouldn't be totally drastic, so bought the Camaro, and I'm really happy I did. You know, in a nutshell, I think overall for the money you really can't beat it. But I just wanted to give you my impressions of this because now 2 years later, I'm getting a Corvette Grand Sport to replace my Camaro. And so I wanted to give overall impressions of the Camaro, and then when I do get the Grand Sport, I'll give overall impressions on that and then compare the two. I think both are great cars, and it'll be interesting to see how they compare and how they work for me. So my goal for this car was a daily drivable track car. Basically, I'm not going to spend the money to have a dedicated track car, so I wanted to see what I could do with a Camaro 2SS and make it trackable but still daily drivable. So in May of 2016, there was no ZL1 and there was no 1LE. So I did a few things to this car. First off, you notice the wheels and tires are not stock. So I wore out the stock tires in about 5,000 or 6,000 miles. Tracking them, I think probably because I didn't have a track alignment. So I wore them out pretty quickly and changed over to these. So I did square stance. Those are MMR flow forged wheels, 285 front and rear Michelin Pilot Super Sports. And with a track alignment, that changed the car. The car went from pushing in corners to being totally perfectly balanced. Made a huge difference. These wheels are 19-inch wheels. The stocks were 20, so it looked a little funny. So I lowered it. Initially, I did BMR lowering springs, and the dampers were not up to it. The car was really bouncy. So coming down like the main straight at Thunder Hill, the car was just bouncing all over the place. Turn 8 at Big Willow, the car was just bouncing all over the place. So I ended up doing BC racing coilovers, and that definitely slowed down the suspension a bit. And it's not bouncing, but it's just a harsh ride overall. Those coilovers are pretty garbage. I've also got BMR sway bars, adjustable sway bars on here, front and rear, and I've got them on the softest setting. I didn't feel like I needed any more firmness than that. So overall, I'd say the car is okay. Those BC coilovers are garbage. I'd do something else. But there's not a lot of coilovers on the market available for this car. KW has some two-way adjustable, and then you can get the DSSV coilovers that they're doing on the ZL1 1LE. But I wasn't really excited about either option. I really would like a nice single tube, non-twin tube shock that, you know, is a little bit more compliant. So I sort of decided I didn't want to put any more money into this car, and that's why I'm getting the Corvette. But let's talk about what I do like about this car. So after doing a track alignment and wheels and tires and some suspension changes, the car handles amazing. When it does break loose, it's totally controlled. It breaks loose evenly. It doesn't go into snap oversteer, and it doesn't push either. So I'm still somewhat of a novice. I've only got maybe 10 track days under me, so I'm still getting used to feeling the car sliding around. But the way I have it set up, it's really controlled. Something to note is I'm 6'3", and fitting in this car when you're 6'3" can be a little bit of a chore. I'll flip the camera around. Hopefully you can see me. Don't know how that is going to work. Let's see if we can flip it around the other way. It's not going to let me. So I don't know if you can see that, but then with my helmet on, I've only got about a 1/4 inch of headroom in the car. I do fit, so I'm not actually crammed in the car itself. Compared to the Corvette, I actually don't fit, so I'm gonna have to get a different roof for the Corvette. The interior of this car is really nice. So this is the 2SS, so it's leather all the way around. It's got heated and cool seats. It's got the heads-up display. I'm gonna start it up so I can show you some of this stuff. It's got Apple CarPlay and a pretty decent stereo. It's not the best stereo. And I have a wire in here, so I can't show Apple CarPlay. So, see if you can see the heads-up display. So, you can customize that to your needs. Right now, what you're seeing with mine is it shows you the speed. It's got a tachometer. It's got a lateral G gauge, and it'll show you what gear you're in. So if I put it into first gear, it'll show you that. And then this car also has automatic rev matching. So I don't know if you can see, currently I'm in first gear. When I put on rev matching, the number 1 digit changes to orange. So you can tell when you're in auto rev matching versus when you're not, just by the color there. That's really nice. When I first bought the car, I didn't think much of it until I went into, I think it's turn 10 at Laguna Seca. You're coming in to a horseshoe. You're coming in at about 100 and you come out at about 35. And unless you're really good at heel towing, that's a hard turn to make without messing up your shift. So that made me a believer. The automatic rev matching was really nice after that. The main displays are also customizable. I'm not going to go through it all now, but you've got all the information you could ever want. Oil temp, transmission cooler temp, everything. You can customize and modify this thing beyond anything you can imagine. The infotainment system on the Camaro is awesome. So just the stock stuff, I'm not plugged in right now, so I can't show you Apple CarPlay. But just the stock setup is great. And look at, so this is a stick shift. Look at how I can fast forward, back up, change the volume, all with my hand on the gear shift. So from an ergonomic standpoint, everything I need as a driver is right here, right? So I can raise and lower the temperature of the car, I can turn on my heated seat, I could turn on my cool seat, I could do all this without even taking my hand off the gear shift. From an ergonomic standpoint, this is terrific. These 2 buttons right here, the fast forward and rewind button, they're indented a little bit. So, I mean, you can fast forward, rewind, change the volume without taking your eyes off the road, which is terrific. The buttons for changing your radio stations are big and they have spaces in between. I'm emphasizing this because I have another car where that is not the case and you always end up fat fingering it. I just think they got the ergonomics really well done in here. So the overall fit and finish is okay. Some people like to harp on Chevy for putting plastic up here on the dash, but quite honestly, I never put my hand up there on the dash. So that doesn't bother me. Let's see, what else? I took some notes. What else do we have to say about it? The visibility in this car really is bad. I know Camaro fanboys like to tell you it's not, but you can't see anything in this car. I mean, without the, so thankfully the 2SS does have the backup camera, and it's got lane change assist or whatever, so it'll beep at me and flashlights if I'm trying to change a lane and there's a car in my blind spot. When I'm backing up, if anything's moving, it beeps at me. So the visibility does suck, but the technology helps make up for it. The Camaro has a back seat, and my 5-year-old daughter, actually she just turned 6, loves this car. She fits back there and she loves going fast. So she's outgrowing the car, and that's another reason I'm getting the Corvette is pretty soon that back seat is just going to be useless if she outgrows it, which she is going to be doing quickly. So what else do I have? Overall, the quality of the car has been good. I had some early issues with the battery dying on me, and we ended up changing the starter after a while, and that seemed to have resolved the issue there. The HVAC system, the passenger side, on occasion does whatever it wants. Like I'll have it on the coolest setting and it'll be blowing heat into the passenger side. That's been annoying, but not that big of a deal. Let me start it back up. The exhaust on this car, so a couple of the options I got, I wasn't actually looking for a black car with stripes. It just happened to be on sale. So it's got the hood vents and stripes and all that, but it's got the NPP exhaust, which you should really get. So the quad tip exhaust, it uses a baffle system, and you can adjust the exhaust when the car is running and put it into stealth, put it into track, or several settings in between. This car is one of the loudest exhausts of any stock car that I know of, and I'll show you. We've got a bit of a glare. So to change the exhaust settings, you go to settings, vehicle. Alright, apparently I forgot how to do this. It's not letting me. I'm gonna have to edit that out. But let's see if you can hear this exhaust. It's got the most amazing exhaust of any car, I think. So I really like that. The car sounds amazing. Overall, it's a great car. I would totally recommend it. If you're looking for a sports car that you can legitimately track, it does amazing. Sure, there are nicer cars out there. I'm hoping the Corvette ends up being a nicer car. I would recommend that you buy the magnetic ride control dampers on this car, especially if you're going to be tracking it, because otherwise, if you do like what I did, you're going to waste a whole lot of money on third-party parts and may not be happy. So it's probably worth the $1,800 to do that. And that's about the only other thing I'd recommend. You can get a ZL1, you can get a ZL1 1LE, you can get a SS 1LE. The SS 1LE would be a nice option as well. But overall, I really like the car. I'm going to miss it. Looking forward to the Corvette. And when I have that, I'll make a video on that as well. And then after a bit of driving, I'll compare the Corvette to the Camaro and give you my thoughts.